Today is January 3rd, 2025. It's the first Friday of this year. And I'm sitting here making a video, and I hope a series of videos that are not for public consumption. It's going to be me talking into a camera, and there occasionally might be cars going behind me. It's not going to be terribly interesting. The goal for these videos is to keep me accountable for what I intend to accomplish this year and perhaps the year following this. Now, what do I want to do? I want to do something very different than what I have done before. I want to work for myself. And knowing me and knowing how those things typically go, the biggest danger to working for yourself is becoming complacent and not doing what you're supposed to do. And these videos that I hope to make would serve as a guideline to keep me in check, if you will. The format would be as follows. Every Friday, I hope to record. And every Saturday, I will publish the video on YouTube. Now, why do I want to publish it on YouTube if it is for just a diary? Number one, it would have a timestamp. And number two, it would serve as a record that I cannot tamper, right? I cannot play games about, oh, I'm a bit late on this thing, I'm gonna record it tomorrow and nobody's gonna know. Yeah, somebody's gonna know, and I would know. So every Friday, recording, every Saturday, uploading. And in those videos, what I want to talk about would be two things primarily. Number one, what I had done in the past week. And number two, what I intend to do in the following week. So, before I dive into week one, I think it's important to sort of verbalize the thing that I want to do for myself for all of this to make any sense. That's number one. And number two, for me to make sure that I don't see, or even if in the future it does happen, for me to see or track the drift in the scope and the goal that I have. I want to make an app, and I don't just want to make it, I want to make it to market. What this means is that I will need to scope it, design it, write it, test it, publish it, and market it. The whole shindig. I have never done that before. I have had some experience in some segments of this whole chain, but never the whole thing. And the motivation and the actual app, I'll discuss more in future videos. But it's more likely than not, in fact, it's much more likely than not, that I should see failure. And if I do, I likely will have learned a lot of interesting and important lessons that I cannot possibly otherwise have. It would still be good tuition paid to the time and money spent. Should I be fortunate enough to see some success, then great. That's what the wishes of everybody who sets out to do this are. So with that in mind, what did I do in the previous week? I did a lot of New York things. I ate a lot. I reveled plenty. I did do some home automation things, which were actually quite interesting to me. Automated some button scenes and all of that. Installed some kitchen pendant drop lights, which actually made the kitchen a lot more interesting looking than before. You wouldn't think some lights would do that, but oh, they certainly would. So none of it is related directly to the goal, the app that I intend to develop. So what do I intend to do next week? Next week, I'm not going to delve directly into the design and the programming of the app. I want to set up a blogging platform for me to be able to record the whole experience. And at this moment, I'm looking at static site generators. I want to have control over my data, and I want it to be lightweight. I have used Jekyll before. I am currently looking at Hugo. So the ideal outcome by next week this time would be that I have a publicly accessible static site generator up and running, and I will have entered my very first blog entry. Doesn't have to be long, but it has to be something there. So, if you happen to stumble upon this type of videos or this series of videos from me, God bless you. I don't know how you find it interesting, but it would be interesting for me to have some audience to tag along the journey. It certainly would be a different experience and hopefully a joyful one. We'll see. That's the end of week 1. I'll see you next week.